"That childhood photo is mine," said the secretary to her boss. What she revealed left him paralyzed. The air conditioning hummed softly in the executive tower office, but Olivia felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. It was her third day as secretary to Mr. Thomas Kensington, a 53-year-old textile magnate known throughout Mexico City for two things: his business ruthlessness and the fact that he never smiled. She'd heard the rumors, of course. The man who built an empire on frozen determination, the widower who turned grief into gold, the boss who could fire you with a glance colder than winter in the mountains. But nobody mentioned the loneliness that clung to him like a second skin. Olivia moved carefully around his mahogany desk, organizing contracts and financial reports with practiced efficiency. The office was immaculate, everything in its place, not a single personal touch anywhere. No family photos on the walls, no trinkets from business trips, nothing that suggested a human being actually worked here instead of a well-programmed machine. Well, almost nothing. Her hand brushed against something half-hidden behind a stack of leather folders. A picture frame, old. Judging by the tarnished silver edges, she shouldn't look. It wasn't her business. But something pulled at her, an invisible thread tugging at her curiosity. Olivia picked it up, and the world tilted sideways. The photograph showed a little girl, maybe 7 years old, wearing a blue dress covered in yellow flowers. She was holding a sunflower bigger than her head, grinning at the camera with the kind of pure joy that only children possess. The sunlight caught her dark hair, and her green eyes sparkled with mischief and innocence. Olivia's hands started shaking. That dress. She knew that dress. Her grandmother, the one who died when she was young, had sewn it by hand, spending weeks on every stitch, every embroidered flower. Olivia could still remember the feel of the fabric, the way it swished when she spun around. And that sunflower. God, that sunflower. Her father had bought it for her at the market, laughing when she insisted on carrying it herself, even though it was taller than she was. She'd carried it all the way home, dragging the stem behind her like a trophy. But that was impossible. That was a memory from before the accident, before the hospital, before Helen found her and gave her a new life. Those memories were supposed to be gone, buried under years of amnesia and carefully constructed stories about being an orphan with no past. Yet here was that exact moment, frozen in time, sitting on Thomas Kensington's desk. "Mr. Kensington," her voice came out barely above a whisper. "This photograph." Thomas had been standing by the window, reviewing a contract with his back to her. He turned slowly, and for a split second, his carefully maintained mask of indifference slipped. His face went pale, not just pale, but ghostly white, like he'd seen something impossible. The papers slipped from his fingers, scattering across the polished floor. "What did you say?" His voice was rough, almost unrecognizable. Olivia held up the frame with trembling hands. Tears were already forming in her eyes, hot and insistent. "This photograph, it's me." The silence that followed was deafening. Thomas stood frozen, his mouth opening and closing without producing sound. Then, slowly, so slowly it seemed to take years, he walked toward her. Each step seemed to cost him something, like he was wading through deep water. He took the frame from her hands, and she watched his fingers tremble as he traced the glass over the little girl's face. His eyes, usually so cold and distant, were suddenly alive with something Olivia couldn't quite name. Terror, hope, both. "How?" He cleared his throat, tried again. "How do you know this picture?" "Because I'm the girl in it." The words tumbled out, carried on a wave of emotion she couldn't control. "I was 7. My grandmother made that dress. She spent weeks on it. And that sunflower. My father bought it for me at the market. I remember everything about that day." Thomas's legs seemed to give out. He caught himself on the edge of the desk, his knuckles white against the dark wood. "What's your name?" The question came out broken, desperate. "Olivia." She wiped at her tears with the back of her hand. "Olivia Kensington." The surname hit him like a physical blow. He actually staggered backward, and for a moment, Olivia thought he might collapse entirely, because 20 years ago, his daughter had been named Olivia Kensington, before she vanished. "That's not possible," Thomas whispered. But his eyes were drinking in every detail of her face, the shape of her jaw, the color of her eyes, the way she tilted her head slightly to the left when she was nervous. "You can't be. She's gone. She's been gone for 20 years. "I know," Olivia's voice cracked. "I know because I've been gone for 20 years, and 3 months ago, the woman who raised me, Helen, the woman I thought was my mother, she died, cancer, and before she went, she gave me this." She pulled a folded piece of paper from her pocket with shaking hands, an old birth certificate, the edges yellowed with age. Some of the ink faded but still legible. The name read, Olivia Margaret Kensington, date of birth matching exactly what Thomas would have expected. Parents listed as Thomas Kensington and Margaret Kensington. "Helen left me a note," Olivia continued, her voice thick with emotion. "She said she was sorry, that she only wanted to save me, that my real father had searched for years, that if I ever got the chance I should find you." Thomas took the certificate with trembling hands. He stared at it for what felt like an eternity, and when he finally looked up at Olivia, his eyes were red-rimmed and glistening. "I searched everywhere," he said hoarsely. "After the accident, after Margaret died, I tore this country apart looking for you. Hired investigators, offered rewards, checked every hospital, every orphanage, every church, for months, for years, until the doctors told me I had to let go or lose my mind entirely. I don't remember much," Olivia admitted. "The accident. Everything's fuzzy. I woke up in a hospital with partial amnesia. Helen was the nurse on duty. She took care of me, and when nobody claimed me, she took me, changed my last name, raised me in a small town near Oaxaca. She loved me. I know she did. But she never told me the truth. Not until she was dying." Thomas set down the birth certificate and the photograph, placing them side by side on the desk. Then he did something Olivia never expected. He reached out and gently took her hand, his calloused businessman's fingers wrapping around hers. "Tell me something," he said quietly. "Something only my Olivia would know." Olivia closed her eyes, reaching back through the fog of lost memories, and then it came to her, clear as crystal, pure as spring water. She opened her mouth and began to hum, then sing softly, "Duerme mi niña, duerme mi sol." Thomas's face crumpled. The song, that lullaby. Margaret used to sing it every single night. He'd never told anyone about it, never shared that intimate detail of their bedtime routine. It was theirs alone. His legs finally gave out completely, and he dropped to his knees on the expensive carpet. A sob tore from his throat, raw, painful, 20 years in the making. "Oh God," he choked out. "Oh God, is it really you?" Olivia knelt beside him, and suddenly they were clinging to each other. Two broken people finding pieces of themselves they thought were lost forever. She could feel his tears soaking into her blouse, could feel her own tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," Thomas kept repeating. "I'm so sorry I couldn't find you. I'm sorry I gave up. I'm sorry." "No." Olivia pulled back just enough to look into his eyes that were the same shade of green as her own. "It wasn't your fault. None of this was your fault." They stayed like that for a long time, the city buzzing with life far below them while time seemed to stand still in that office. Neither of them noticed the shadow that passed by the frosted glass door. Neither of them saw Evelyn Kensington pause in the hallway, her hand frozen on the door handle, her expression shifting from curiosity to shock to something darker, something that looked a lot like fear. Thomas sat behind his desk, but he wasn't really there. His body occupied the leather chair. His hands rested on the armrests, but his mind had traveled back 20 years to a day that had split his life into before and after. "It was October," he said quietly, his voice distant. "A Tuesday afternoon, beautiful weather, the kind of day that makes you forget bad things can happen." Olivia sat across from him, her coffee untouched and growing cold. She'd sent away his appointments for the rest of the day. Right now, nothing else mattered except this moment, this conversation, this fragile bridge being built between two strangers who shared blood and history. "Margaret was taking you to the market," Thomas continued. "She wanted to make your favorite dinner, chicken with mole. Remember, you loved it so much you'd eat it 3 times a week if we let you." A ghost of a smile flickered across his face, there and gone like a candle flame in the wind. Olivia felt something stir in the depths of her memory, hazy and incomplete. I think I remember the smell of it cooking. She made it from scratch. Everything from scratch. Thomas's eyes were unfocused, seeing something that existed only in his memory. You two left around 3 in the afternoon. I was at my workshop. Back then, I had a small textile operation in Puebla. Just me and 3 employees making fabric for local shops. Nothing like... He gestured vaguely at the office around them, at the empire he'd built on the ruins of his life. I was working on a new pattern when I got the call. The police. They said there'd been an accident on the highway outside the city. His voice cracked. I didn't even wait to lock up. Just ran to my truck and drove like a madman. Olivia watched tears slip down his cheeks. He didn't seem to notice them. Didn't bother wiping them away. The car had hit a tree. They said Margaret probably swerved to avoid something. Another vehicle, an animal. They never figured it out. She died on impact. They told me she didn't suffer. But I don't know if that's true or just something they say. He finally looked at Olivia, and the pain in his eyes was so raw it hurt to see. But you weren't there. The passenger door was open. There was blood on the seat, on the ground outside, but no body. Just gone. They searched for days, weeks, brought in dogs, helicopters, volunteers. I was out there every single day, calling your name until my voice gave out. At night, I'd go to the morgues, the hospitals. I saw so many children, and none of them were you. His hands clenched into fists. Every phone call, I thought it would be news. Every knock on the door, I thought you'd be standing there. But nothing, just silence and empty leads and people telling me to prepare for the worst. Olivia's throat was tight. I'm so sorry. I hired private investigators, the best ones money could buy, which wasn't much back then. But I sold everything I could. My car, my tools, my mother's jewelry. I didn't care about anything except finding you. He laughed bitterly. Ironic, isn't it? I spent every cent trying to find you, and in the end you found me. What happened to the search? Thomas was quiet for a long moment. 6 months in, I had a breakdown, complete mental collapse. The doctor said I was having a psychotic episode. I kept seeing you everywhere, hearing your voice. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My business partner had to commit me for a week. He stood and walked to the window, looking out over the city sprawl. When I got out, everyone told me the same thing. I had to let go, had to accept that you probably didn't survive, that whoever took you from that crash site, because someone must have taken you, they weren't planning to bring you back. But I survived, Olivia whispered. You survived, he echoed, and I gave up. I told myself I was being realistic, that I was protecting my sanity, but the truth is, I was a coward. I chose to stop feeling rather than keep hurting. That's not cowardice. That's survival. He turned to face her. Is it? Because I didn't just stop searching for you. I stopped everything. Stopped smiling. Stopped connecting with people. Stopped living. I threw myself into work because work doesn't ask for emotions. Work doesn't break your heart. And you built all this. Olivia gestured around the office. Yeah, built an empire on grief and guilt. He returned to his chair, suddenly looking exhausted. Started small, doing contract work for bigger companies, reinvested every profit, worked 18-hour days because going home meant being alone with my thoughts. Within 5 years, I'd made my first $1 million. Within 10, I'd bought out my 3 largest competitors. People called me a genius, a visionary. They had no idea I was just a man running from ghosts. Olivia leaned forward. Can I tell you about my 20 years? Please. She took a breath, gathering her thoughts. I woke up in a hospital, white walls, beeping machines, pain everywhere. I didn't know my name, didn't know where I was. The doctor said I had a severe concussion, some broken ribs, lots of bruises, and amnesia. Partial, they called it. I could remember some things, but not others. It was like someone had taken an eraser to parts of my mind. Helen was my nurse. She was kind. Genuinely kind. She'd sit with me when I had nightmares. bring me extra dessert, read to me. When the police came asking questions, I couldn't give them answers. I didn't remember the accident, didn't remember my name, couldn't describe my parents. Her voice wavered. After a few weeks, they said I'd probably been in foster care or was from an undocumented family. Nobody came looking for me. Thomas flinched at that, and Olivia immediately regretted her words. I mean, someone was looking, you were looking, but I was in the wrong place, under the wrong circumstances. And Helen, she paused. Helen made a choice. She told me later in her note that she'd seen too many kids get lost in the system, abused, neglected, forgotten. She decided to save me in the only way she knew how. She stole you. She adopted me illegally, yes, changed my last name to hers, Rodriguez, moved us to a small town near Oaxaca where nobody asked questions. She worked double shifts at a local clinic, and I grew up in a 2-room house with a tin roof that leaked when it rained. Olivia smiled softly. We were poor, but we were happy. She loved me. I never doubted that. Did you ever remember, before she told you? Flashes, dreams, mostly. A man's face I couldn't quite see. A woman singing. The smell of fabric and coffee. But Helen always said those were just my mind trying to fill in blanks, that I shouldn't trust them. She looked down at her hands. I believed her, because I had no reason not to. When did she tell you the truth? 3 months ago. She was dying. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. She had maybe a week left, and she was in so much pain. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. She called me to her bedside and gave me a metal box. Inside was my real birth certificate, a newspaper clipping about the accident, and a note written in her shaky handwriting. What did it say? Forgive me, my girl. I only wanted to save you, but your real father searched for years. His name is on this paper, if you ever can. Forgive me too. Olivia wiped her eyes. She died 2 days later. Thomas was quiet for a long time. Finally, he asked, why didn't you come to me immediately? I did research first, found articles about you, about your company, about the daughter you lost. The dates matched, the details lined up, but I needed to be sure. And I needed to understand who you'd become. She met his gaze. So I applied for the secretary position under my adopted name. I wanted to see you, know you, before I revealed everything. And then you found the photograph. And then I found the photograph. She smiled through her tears. I wasn't planning to tell you so soon, but when I saw that picture, I couldn't help it. Thomas reached across the desk and took her hand. I'm glad you did. They sat in comfortable silence. Two people who'd spent 20 years apart beginning the long journey back to each other. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the office in shades of gold and amber. Neither of them noticed the woman standing outside the office, her ear pressed against the door. Evelyn Kensington's face was pale, her jaw clenched tight. She'd heard enough, more than enough. She pulled out her phone and dialed a number, her voice low and urgent when someone answered. We have a problem, she whispered. A big one. The next morning, Thomas called Olivia into his office before the rest of the staff arrived. The city was still waking up. Coffee shops opening their doors. Traffic beginning its daily crawl through downtown streets. Inside the tower, silence wrapped around them like a blanket. I didn't sleep last night, Thomas admitted, looking more vulnerable than Olivia had ever seen him. His usual crisp suit seemed to hang a bit looser, and there were dark circles under his eyes. I kept thinking about everything you told me, about Helen, about the accident, about the last 20 years, and I want to believe you. God, I want to believe you more than I've wanted anything in my entire life. Olivia's stomach tightened. She heard the unspoken but hanging in the air between them. But I've learned the hard way that wanting something doesn't make it true, he continued. I need to be sure, not just for me, but for you too. Because if you really are my daughter, I don't want there to be any doubt. Ever. What do you need from me? Thomas pulled out a folder and opened it carefully, as if it contained something precious and fragile. Inside were old photographs, documents yellowed with age, medical records. These are things only Olivia would know. Details I never shared with anyone, not even close friends, things that didn't make it into police reports or newspaper articles. He spread the photographs across his desk. Olivia leaned forward, her heart hammering. This was taken at your 4th birthday party." He pointed to a picture of a little girl covered in chocolate frosting, grinning widely despite missing her 2 front teeth. "You insisted on having a chocolate cake even though you were allergic to chocolate. Margaret and I tried to convince you to choose something else, but you were stubborn. You said you'd only eat 1 piece and it would be worth it." Olivia felt a smile tugging at her lips. "Did I get sick?" "Hives everywhere. We spent the rest of the party applying calamine lotion while you scratched and complained but insisted it was still worth it." He smiled at the memory, then grew serious again. "Do you remember any of that?" Olivia closed her eyes, reaching back through the fog. "I remember itching, and pink lotion that smelled weird, and being so mad because I wanted to keep playing but had to sit still." Thomas's breath caught. "What else?" "There was a piñata, a star, no, a unicorn, pink and purple." The memory was coming clearer now, like a photograph developing in solution. "I hit it so hard the stick broke, and everyone laughed. Your grandmother, Margaret's mother, made that piñata by hand, spent 2 weeks on it." Thomas's voice was thick with emotion. "When you broke the stick, she laughed so hard she cried, said you had your father's strength and your mother's determination." He pulled out another photograph. "This one's from your 6th birthday. You were obsessed with butterflies that year. What did you ask for?" Olivia studied the picture. A little girl in a garden, surrounded by flowers, wearing what looked like homemade butterfly wings. A butterfly house. "I wanted to keep butterflies in my room." "Yes, we told you butterflies needed to be free, that they wouldn't be happy in a cage. You cried for hours." Thomas touched the photo gently. "So I built you a butterfly garden in the backyard instead, planted all the flowers butterflies love, milkweed, lavender, coneflowers. You'd spend hours out there, completely still, waiting for them to land on you." "I remember the lavender," Olivia whispered. "The smell, and how the butterfly's wings felt like tissue paper when they landed on my hand." Thomas set down the photograph and looked at her intently. "Tell me about your knee." Olivia blinked at the sudden shift. "My knee? Your left knee. Is there a scar?" Without hesitation, Olivia pulled up her pant leg, revealing a small crescent-shaped scar just below her kneecap. "I've always had this. Helen said it was from the accident." It wasn't. Thomas stood and came around the desk, kneeling to look at the scar more closely. "You were 5 years old, running through the house even though Margaret told you a dozen times not to run inside. You slipped on the kitchen floor and went straight into the corner of the coffee table, split your knee open. I rushed you to the emergency room. You were screaming bloody murder. Took 6 stitches." He looked up at her, and Olivia saw tears gathering in his eyes. "You made me promise not to tell your mother it happened because you were running. We told her you tripped over a toy instead. It was our secret. Our secret," Olivia repeated softly, something warm and bittersweet unfurling in her chest. Thomas stood and returned to his desk, pulling out one more item, a small worn notebook. This was Margaret's journal. She wrote in it every day, mostly about you, little things. Funny things you said, milestones, moments she wanted to remember. His hands trembled slightly as he opened it. "There's an entry here from about 2 weeks before the accident. She wrote about a song you'd made up. Do you remember making up songs?" Maybe. Olivia felt uncertain now, the memories slipping like sand through her fingers. "You made them up all the time. Drove us crazy, actually, because you'd sing them at the top of your lungs at 6 in the morning." He smiled despite the tears on his cheeks. "But there was one Margaret wrote down because it made her laugh. She said you sang it every night before bed. It went." He paused, his voice breaking. "It went, duerme mi niña, duerme mi sol, Los Angeles te cuidan con su amor." The lullaby, the same one Olivia had sung yesterday without thinking, pulled from some deep well of memory she didn't even know existed. "Sleep, my little girl. Sleep, my sunshine," Olivia translated softly. "The angels watch over you with their love. You sang it yesterday," Thomas said. "The moment you started singing, I knew, because that wasn't in any police report. That wasn't in any newspaper article. That was ours, yours, mine, and Margaret's. Nobody else knew about it." He closed the journal carefully and set it aside. "But I need more than memories. I need something concrete, something scientific, something that will erase any doubt." A DNA test, Olivia said. Yes. Thomas pulled out a business card and slid it across the desk. This is the best genetic testing laboratory in Mexico City. I've already called them. They can see us this afternoon. Olivia took the card, her hands steady. I'm not afraid of the test. I know who I am. I'm afraid, Thomas admitted quietly. I'm terrified, because if the test comes back positive, everything changes. And if it comes back negative, he couldn't finish the sentence. Olivia stood and walked around the desk without asking permission. She pulled Thomas into a hug. He stiffened for a moment, then melted into it, his arms coming up to hold her tightly. Whatever the test says, she whispered, I'm grateful I found you, that I got to hear stories about my mother, about my childhood, about the man who loved me enough to search for years. Don't, Thomas said, his voice muffled against her shoulder. Don't say it like it's goodbye, please. It's not goodbye. It's just the beginning of knowing for certain. They stood like that for a long moment, before a sharp knock on the door made them both jump. They pulled apart quickly, and Thomas wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. Come in, he called, his voice rough. The door opened, and Evelyn Kensington stepped inside. She was impeccably dressed as always, her dark hair pulled back in a tight bun, her expression professionally neutral, but Olivia caught something in her eyes, something cold and calculating. Thomas, I'm sorry to interrupt. Evelyn's gaze slid to Olivia, lingering just a moment too long, but we have the board meeting in an hour, and there are documents you need to review. Cancel it, Thomas said without hesitation. Evelyn's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose. Cancel it, Thomas. This meeting has been scheduled for months. The investors... I said cancel it, Evelyn. His tone left no room for argument. Something more important has come up. More important than a $50 million deal. Evelyn's voice was sharp now, her professional mask slipping slightly. Thomas, what's going on? You've been acting strange since yesterday, and now you're canceling crucial meetings. The board members are already concerned about... The board members can wait. Thomas stood, his posture protective as he moved slightly in front of Olivia. This is personal, and it's not up for discussion. Evelyn's eyes narrowed as she looked between them. Personal, I see. She straightened her shoulders, and when she spoke again, her voice was carefully controlled. Of course, I'll handle the board, but Thomas, as your partner and your sister, I hope you'll tell me eventually what's so important that you're willing to jeopardize everything we've built. When the time is right, Thomas said. I promise. After Evelyn left, closing the door with more force than necessary, Olivia turned to Thomas. She doesn't know. Not yet. I haven't told anyone. He grabbed his jacket from the back of his chair. Come on, let's go get those DNA tests done. The sooner we know for certain, the better. As they left the office together, neither of them saw Evelyn standing in the hallway, her phone pressed to her ear, her face a mask of barely controlled fury. The DNA test took less than 15 minutes. A simple cheek swab, some paperwork, and a promise that results would arrive within 3 weeks. Thomas had paid extra for the fastest processing available, but even with money greasing the wheels, science moved at its own pace. 3 weeks, he muttered as they walked back to his car. 21 days of not knowing for certain. We've already waited 20 years, Olivia said gently. What's 3 more weeks? Thomas looked at her across the roof of his black Mercedes. Everything. It's everything. The drive back to the office was quiet, both of them lost in their own thoughts. When they arrived, Thomas's assistant informed him that Evelyn had rescheduled the board meeting for the following week and was waiting in his office. Of course she is. Thomas sighed. He turned to Olivia. Take the rest of the day off. Go home, rest. We'll talk tomorrow. But Olivia hesitated. Are you going to tell her about me? Not yet. Not until we have the results. He squeezed her shoulder gently. I need to be absolutely certain before I tell anyone. You understand, right? She nodded, ignoring the small stab of hurt in her chest. Of course he needed to be certain. She was asking him to believe something impossible. After Olivia left, Thomas steeled himself and entered his office. Evelyn was standing by the window, her posture rigid, her reflection ghostly in the glass. You canceled a $50 million meeting, she said without turning around. For a secretary you hired 3 days ago. Evelyn, don't. She spun to face him, and Thomas was startled by the intensity in her eyes. "Don't insult my intelligence by pretending this is normal. I've worked beside you for 15 years, Thomas. I know when something's wrong." Thomas moved to his desk, buying himself time by pouring a glass of water from the crystal decanter. "It's complicated, then uncomplicated." Evelyn crossed her arms. "Is it about the girl? Olivia?" His hand stilled on the glass. "What makes you ask that?" "Because I'm not blind. I saw how you looked at her yesterday, like you'd seen a ghost." Evelyn's voice softened, becoming almost gentle. "Thomas, talk to me. We're family, whatever this is. You can tell me." Family. The word hung between them, heavy with meaning. Evelyn was his sister, his younger sister by 5 years. After Margaret died and Olivia disappeared, Evelyn had been his anchor. She'd helped him build the business, stood by him through the darkest times, became the only family he had left. "She says she's Olivia," Thomas said quietly. The silence that followed was absolute. Evelyn didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. Then slowly, she sank into one of the leather chairs facing his desk. "What?" "The girl, Olivia Rodriguez. She says she's actually Olivia Kensington, my daughter." The words felt surreal coming out of his mouth. "She has a birth certificate, photos, memories. She knows things only Olivia would know." Evelyn's face had gone pale. "Thomas, that's impossible." "I thought so too. But she has proof. We did a DNA test today." "A DNA test?" Evelyn's voice was flat, emotionless. "You did a DNA test with a stranger who claims to be your dead daughter." "Missing daughter," Thomas corrected. "We never found a body. There was always a chance. A chance she died alone and scared somewhere." Evelyn's voice rose. "A chance her body was never recovered, Thomas. We grieved for her. You almost destroyed yourself looking for her. And now, 20 years later, someone conveniently appears with a story. It's not just a story. She knows things, Evelyn. Things that were never public. Things that could have been researched, learned, fabricated." Evelyn leaned forward, her eyes pleading. "Thomas, please, think about this rationally. You're one of the wealthiest men in Mexico. You're vulnerable. And this girl, she's been working here for 3 days. 3 days. Just long enough to snoop around, find that photograph you keep hidden, do her homework. She didn't find the photograph by snooping. I had it on my desk. Even better, she saw an opportunity and took it." Evelyn stood and began pacing. "This is classic con artist behavior. They study their marks, learn everything they can, exploit emotional vulnerabilities. And you, God, Thomas, you're the perfect mark. A grieving father who never got closure. She couldn't have picked a better target." Thomas felt something cold settling in his stomach. "You think she's lying?" "I think she's either lying or delusional." Evelyn stopped pacing and gripped the back of the chair. "Thomas, I love you. You're my brother, and I've watched you suffer for 20 years. I can't stand by and watch someone exploit that suffering for money. We did a DNA test, and what if she somehow faked that too? Or what if the test comes back negative and you're devastated all over again?" Evelyn's voice cracked. "I'm trying to protect you." Thomas sat heavily in his chair. "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to be careful, suspicious. Don't give her anything. No money, no access, no trust, until that test comes back. And even then..." Evelyn moved around the desk and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Even then, be skeptical. Have someone verify the results. Make sure the lab wasn't compromised. You really think she's that calculating? I think desperate people do desperate things, and I think you want to believe so badly that you're not thinking clearly." Evelyn squeezed his shoulder. "Let me help you. Let me do some digging into her background. If she's legitimate, great. But if she's not, we need to know before she does any damage." Thomas wanted to argue, wanted to defend Olivia, to insist that Evelyn was wrong. But doubt was the insidious thing, and his sister's words were finding cracks in his certainty. "Just be careful," Evelyn said again. "That's all I'm asking. Don't let hope blind you to reality." After she left, Thomas sat alone in his office. As the sun set outside his window, he pulled out his phone and looked at Olivia's contact information. His finger hovered over the call button. What if Evelyn was right? What if this was all an elaborate con? He'd been fooled before by investigators who promised results but delivered nothing except empty hope and lighter bank accounts. What made this different? But then he remembered the way Olivia had sung that lullaby, the scar on her knee, the memories that matched so perfectly. Either she was telling the truth, or she was the best actress he'd ever met. Thomas put his phone away and turned to his computer. He typed Olivia's name into the search bar, then hesitated. Was he really going to investigate her like she was a criminal? He typed anyway. The results were sparse. A few social media profiles that looked genuine enough. A high school graduation photo. College records showing she'd studied business administration, employment history at small companies. Nothing remarkable. On the surface, she looked exactly like what she claimed to be. An ordinary young woman who'd grown up in modest circumstances. But surfaces could be deceiving. Thomas picked up his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in years. Sergio, it's Thomas Kensington. I need your services again. He paused. I need you to investigate someone. Full background check. Everything you can find. Her name is Olivia Rodriguez, but she might have records under Olivia Kensington. I need to know if she's telling me the truth. After he hung up, Thomas felt sick. He was investigating his own daughter, or someone pretending to be his daughter. He didn't even know which anymore. 3 weeks suddenly felt like an eternity. Across town, Evelyn sat in her penthouse apartment, a glass of wine in one hand and her phone in the other. She scrolled through the contact list until she found the name she wanted. Dr. Ramirez. This is Evelyn Kensington. I need a favor. A very discreet favor. There's a DNA test being processed at your laboratory. Sample submitted today under the name Thomas Kensington. I need you to ensure the results come back negative. Yes, I understand what I'm asking. Money is no object. I'll triple your usual consultation fee. She took a sip of wine, her hand steady, her voice calm. Because my brother's happiness depends on it. And because whoever this girl is, she's not going to destroy everything we've built. 3 weeks felt like 3 years. Olivia returned to work the day after the DNA test, and everything had changed. Thomas was different, distant, formal, calling her Miss Rodriguez instead of Olivia. The warmth that had bloomed between them had frozen over, replaced by a professional coldness that hurt more than outright rejection. She told herself it was understandable. He was protecting himself, waiting for scientific proof before letting himself believe, but understanding didn't make it hurt any less. Miss Rodriguez, I need these contracts filed by end of day, Thomas said one afternoon, barely looking at her as he handed over a stack of folders. Of course, Mr. Kensington. The formality felt like swallowing glass. As she turned to leave, he spoke again. And please schedule a meeting with the legal team for Friday. We need to discuss the merger. Already done. It's at 2 o'clock. He nodded curtly. That's all? Olivia fled to her desk, blinking back tears. What had happened to the man who'd held her while they both cried, who'd shown her photographs and shared memories, who'd looked at her like she'd hung the moon? She knew what had happened. Evelyn, Thomas's sister, had been circling like a shark ever since their conversation. Olivia would catch her watching with calculating eyes, see her whispering with Thomas behind closed doors, notice the way she'd casually mention stories about con artists and elaborate scams during staff meetings. The message was clear. Don't trust the girl. But Olivia had expected resistance. What she hadn't expected was how effective it would be. Thomas, who'd been so ready to believe, had retreated behind walls of doubt and suspicion. Sometimes she'd catch him looking at her with something like longing. But the moment their eyes met, the shutters would slam down again. The worst part was that she understood. She'd be suspicious too. Who wouldn't be? Still, understanding and accepting were two different things. One evening, as Olivia was preparing to leave, Thomas called her into his office. Her heart leaped. Maybe he wanted to talk, really talk, like they had before. The DNA results should be here by Friday, he said without preamble. I've arranged to have them delivered directly to me. Once we receive them, we'll know definitively. Okay. Olivia stood awkwardly by the door, unsure if she was dismissed. Thomas looked up, and for a moment, his mask slipped. Are you nervous? Terrified, she admitted. Not about what the test will say. I know the truth. But about what happens after. What do you mean? Olivia took a step closer. If the test is positive, everything changes for both of us. You get your daughter back, but she's a stranger. I get my father back, but I barely know him. We've lost 20 years, and we can't get them back. That's terrifying." Thomas was quiet for a long moment. "And if it's negative, then I'm wrong about everything. My whole identity is a lie. Helen's deathbed confession was a mistake. The memories I have are false." Her voice cracked. "And I lose you before I ever really had you." Something shifted in Thomas's expression, a crack in the armor. "Olivia, A knock on the door interrupted him. Evelyn entered without waiting for permission, her timing impeccable as always. "Thomas, sorry to interrupt, but we have that conference call with Tokyo in 5 minutes." Her eyes flicked to Olivia dismissively. "You can go home now, Miss Rodriguez." Olivia left, but not before she saw the way Evelyn positioned herself between them, physically inserting herself into the space Olivia had occupied. Outside, the city lights blurred through her tears. The next 3 days crawled by with excruciating slowness. Olivia went through the motions of her job, filing papers and scheduling meetings. All while feeling like she was holding her breath underwater, Thomas remained distant. Evelyn remained watchful. And then Friday arrived. Olivia was at her desk when she saw the courier arrive. Her heart stopped. The man handed Thomas a sealed envelope, got a signature, and left. Through the glass wall of Thomas's office, she watched him stare at the envelope like it might explode. He picked up his phone. "Miss Rodriguez, please come to my office and ask Evelyn to join us as well." This was it, the moment of truth. When Olivia entered, Evelyn was already there, standing by the window with her arms crossed. Thomas sat behind his desk, the unopened envelope in front of him. "The results are here," he said unnecessarily. His hands were shaking. "I thought we should all be present when I open them." "Why does she need to be here?" Evelyn gestured at Olivia. "This is family business. Because if these results are positive, she is family," Thomas said sharply. "Now please, Evelyn, no more." With trembling fingers, Thomas opened the envelope and pulled out the papers inside. Olivia watched his face as he read, trying to decipher his expression. His eyes scanned the page. Once, twice, 3 times. Then his face crumpled. "No," he whispered. "No, this can't be right." Olivia's world tilted. "What does it say?" Thomas looked up at her, and she saw devastation in his eyes. "It says there's no genetic match according to this. You're not my daughter." The words hit her like a physical blow. Olivia grabbed the edge of the desk to steady herself. "That's impossible. It has to be wrong. DNA tests don't lie," Evelyn said, her voice carefully neutral, but with an edge of satisfaction underneath. "Thomas, I'm so sorry. I know you wanted to believe, but let me see it." Olivia reached for the papers, but Thomas pulled them away. "I think it's time for you to go," he said quietly. "I'll have HR process your termination paperwork. You'll receive 2 months severance pay." "Thomas, please, something's wrong. The test has to be wrong. Just go." His voice broke. "Please, I can't do this again. But, go." The word came out as a roar, and Olivia flinched. She'd never heard him raise his voice before. Evelyn moved to the door and opened it pointedly. "Come on, Miss Rodriguez. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Olivia looked at Thomas one more time, desperate for some sign that he still believed her, still saw the connection they'd shared, but his head was down, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. She left. At her desk, Olivia mechanically gathered her few personal belongings, a coffee mug, a framed photo of Helen, a potted succulent that was barely surviving the office fluorescent lights. Other employees watched her with curious eyes, whispering behind their hands. In the elevator, alone, Olivia finally let herself cry. Great, gulping sobs that left her gasping. How was this possible? She knew who she was. She had the birth certificate, the memories, the scar. How could a DNA test say otherwise? Unless it was wrong, or unless someone had made sure it was wrong. The thought stopped her tears mid-flow. Olivia straightened, wiping her face with the back of her hand. DNA tests could be falsified. Results could be altered. And there was one person who had both the motive and the means to do exactly that. Evelyn. The elevator doors opened onto the lobby, and Olivia stepped out into the late afternoon sun. She pulled out her phone and searched for the laboratory's website, found their address, If someone had tampered with the results, there would be evidence. There had to be. She'd find it. Back in his office, Thomas sat with his head in his hands while Evelyn poured him a drink. "I'm sorry," she said softly, placing the glass in front of him. "I know this is painful, but it's better to know now than to be deceived for months or years. I really thought—" Thomas couldn't finish the sentence. "I know." Evelyn placed a hand on his shoulder. "But you're strong. You survived losing her once. You'll survive this too. And I'll be here, like always. We're family, Thomas. Real family. Blood family. And that's never going to change." Thomas picked up the DNA report and stared at it through tear-blurred eyes. Something nagged at him. Some detail that didn't quite fit. But grief had him in its grip and he couldn't focus. He crumpled the paper in his fist and threw it across the room. Outside his office, Evelyn allowed herself a small smile before smoothing it away. The threat had been neutralized. Everything she'd built was safe. Dr. Ramirez had earned every cent of his bribe. Olivia sat in her tiny studio apartment, surrounded by papers spread across her coffee table like pieces of a puzzle that refused to come together. It had been 4 days since Thomas dismissed her. 4 days of barely eating or sleeping. 4 days of drowning in questions that had no answers. The birth certificate lay in front of her, yellowed and worn, but undeniably real. Next to it, Helen's handwritten note, the ink slightly smudged from Olivia's tears. Beside that, printouts of news articles about the accident, about Thomas's desperate search, about a little girl who vanished without a trace. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. She was Olivia Kensington. Everything except the DNA test. Her phone buzzed, another call from an unknown number. She'd been getting them all week, probably debt collectors or telemarketers. She let it go to voicemail. The apartment felt suffocating. The walls seemed to press in on her, and the silence was deafening. Olivia stood abruptly and grabbed her jacket. She needed air, needed to move, needed to do something other than sit here drowning in self-doubt. Outside, the evening air was cool against her flushed face. She walked without direction, her feet carrying her through familiar streets that suddenly felt foreign. Everything felt wrong, like she'd been living in someone else's skin and had only just realized it didn't fit. Who was she, really? If she wasn't Olivia Kensington, then Helen had lied for no reason. The birth certificate was fake. The memories were false. Everything she'd believed about herself for the past 3 months was built on sand, but that didn't make sense either. Helen had no reason to lie on her deathbed. The birth certificate looked authentic. Olivia had even taken it to a document expert who'd confirmed it was genuine, not forged. And the memories, those felt real in a way that couldn't be manufactured, which meant the DNA test was wrong, or tampered with. Olivia stopped walking, a thought crystallizing in her mind. She'd been so devastated by the results that she hadn't thought to question them. But DNA tests weren't infallible. They could be contaminated, mislabeled, or deliberately falsified, and Evelyn had every reason to falsify them. If Olivia was really Thomas's daughter, she'd inherit everything, or at least a substantial portion of the Kensington empire. Evelyn, who'd spent 20 years as the sole heir in Thomas's right hand, would lose her position, her power, potentially her wealth. That was motive enough for anything. Olivia pulled out her phone and searched for the laboratory's name on the DNA report she'd photographed before leaving the office. Genetech Laboratory. She found their website, their address, their business hours. They closed at 6, and it was already 5:30. She started running. The laboratory was in a sleek medical building downtown, all glass and chrome, and the antiseptic smell of a place where science happened. Olivia burst through the doors, startling the receptionist at the front desk. "I need to speak to someone about a DNA test," she said breathlessly. "It was processed here about a week ago. The name in the file is Thomas Kensington." The receptionist, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, looked sympathetic but firm. "I'm sorry, miss, but we can't discuss test results with anyone except the patient who submitted the sample. Privacy regulations. I was the other sample. It was a paternity test." Olivia leaned on the counter, desperation bleeding into her voice. "Please, I just need to know if the test was handled properly, if there's any chance it could have been compromised. All our tests are handled with the utmost care and professionalism." The receptionist's tone had shifted to defensive. "If you have concerns about your results, You should discuss them with the physician who ordered the test. What if someone tampered with them, paid someone to alter the results? The receptionist's expression changed. Just a flicker, but Olivia caught it. Surprise. Alarm. That's a very serious accusation. I know, and I wouldn't make it if I wasn't certain something's wrong. Olivia pulled out her phone and showed the woman Helen's note, the birth certificate, the news articles. This is me. I'm this little girl. Every memory I have, every piece of evidence says I'm Thomas Kensington's daughter, except for that test. So either I'm completely delusional, or someone made sure that test came back negative. The receptionist looked at the documents, then at Olivia, then back at the documents. Wait here, she said finally, and disappeared through a door behind her desk. Olivia waited, her heart pounding. Minutes ticked by. Other patients came and went, casting curious glances her way. She was probably making a scene, probably embarrassing herself. Maybe she was delusional after all. The door opened, and a young man in a lab coat emerged. He was maybe 30, with nervous eyes, and the kind of face that had probably never learned to lie convincingly. Miss Rodriguez. He glanced around the waiting room. Can we talk somewhere private? They moved to a small consultation room. The man, he introduced himself as Dr. Marco Silva, a lab technician, closed the door and leaned against it like he was afraid someone might burst in. I shouldn't be talking to you, he said immediately. I could lose my job, but I need to tell someone, and you seem like you deserve to know. Olivia's breath caught. Know what? The test. The one for Thomas Kensington. Dr. Silva ran a hand through his hair, making it stand up in nervous spikes. It was flagged in our system, not officially, but I saw it. Someone paid our director to ensure a negative result. The words hung in the air between them, and Olivia felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. You're sure? I saw the deposit in the director's account. I wasn't supposed to. I was fixing a software issue and stumbled across it. $50,000. Transferred the day before the results were processed. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands. I took screenshots before I realized what I was looking at. Then I didn't know what to do with them. He showed her the images. Bank transfers. Emails carefully worded to avoid explicit confession, but clear in their intent. And a name. Evelyn Kensington. Oh my God, Olivia whispered. I wanted to report it. But Dr. Ramirez, our director, he's powerful, connected. If I accused him without ironclad proof, I'd be destroyed, blacklisted from every lab in the country. Dr. Silva looked miserable. I'm a coward, I know that, but I have student loans, a family depending on me. I couldn't risk it. Can you send me these screenshots? If I do, you can't say where you got them. Not until you have a lawyer, legal protection, something. Promise me. I promise. He transferred the files to her phone, then deleted his own copies with shaking fingers. Get a second test done, somewhere else. Somewhere Evelyn Kensington can't touch. Get the truth on record. After he left, Olivia sat in the consultation room, staring at her phone. She had proof. Not enough to take to the police yet. Maybe, but enough to show Thomas. Enough to make him question. To make him see that Evelyn had manipulated everything. But would he believe her? He'd already rejected her once. Would he really accept that his own sister had betrayed him so completely? There was only one way to find out. Olivia stood, her resolve hardening. She wasn't giving up. Not on the truth. Not on Thomas. Not on herself. She was Olivia Kensington, and it was time to prove it. The next morning, Olivia stood outside the Kensington Tower, clutching her phone like a lifeline. Security wouldn't let her up. Her access badge had been deactivated, but she'd expected that. Instead, she called Thomas's direct line, the one only his inner circle had access to. He answered on the third ring. Kensington, it's me. Don't hang up. The words came out in a rush. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I have proof. The DNA test was falsified. Evelyn paid the lab director to ensure a negative result. I have bank transfers, emails, everything. Silence then. That's impossible. It's not. Please, Thomas. Just look at what I'm sending you. Then decide if you still want me to go away. She texted him the screenshots before he could protest. Then waited, her heart in her throat. Through the tower's glass doors, she could see the lobby, the elevators, the world she'd been banished from. Her phone buzzed. "Where are you?" "Outside. Security won't let me in." Another pause. "Wait there." 5 minutes later, Thomas emerged from the elevators, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His suit was rumpled, his tie askew, his eyes haunted. He pushed through the doors and stopped in front of her. "Show me everything," he said. They sat in a coffee shop 3 blocks from the tower, tucked into a corner booth where no one would recognize Thomas Kensington having an intense conversation with his former secretary. Olivia's phone lay between them on the scarred wooden table, displaying screenshot after damning screenshot. Thomas scrolled through them in silence, his face growing paler with each image. Bank transfers from Evelyn's personal account to Dr. Ramirez, emails discussing ensuring the desired outcome, text messages confirming that the problem has been handled. "This can't be real," he finally said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Dr. Silva risked everything to give me these. He saw the transaction in their system, knew something was wrong." Olivia leaned forward. "Thomas, your sister paid $50,000 to make sure that test came back negative. She didn't want you to find me because if I'm your daughter, she loses her position in the company, her inheritance. Everything she's built over the last 20 years. Thomas set down the phone like it had burned him. "Evelyn wouldn't do this. She's my sister. She's been with me through everything." "Exactly. She's been with you through everything. And she's gotten very comfortable with her role. Comfortable enough to commit fraud to protect it." Olivia pulled up another image, an email from Evelyn to the lab director. "Read this one." She explicitly asks him to ensure Thomas doesn't get hurt by false hope. She's not even hiding what she did, just wrapping it in concern for you. Thomas read the email once, twice, 3 times. His jaw clenched tighter with each pass. "I don't understand. Why would she? We're family." "So are we," Olivia said softly. "Or at least, we're supposed to be." But she didn't want to share you, didn't want to give up what she spent 2 decades building. "She told me you were a con artist, that you'd researched everything, learned the details, exploited my grief." Thomas looked up, and Olivia saw anguish in his eyes. "She was so convincing, and I wanted to protect myself, so I believed her. I understand why you did. It makes sense to be cautious." Olivia reached across the table, stopping just short of touching his hand. "But now you know the truth. The test was a lie. Everything Evelyn told you was designed to keep us apart." Thomas stood abruptly, the booth's bench scraping against the floor. "I need to confront her. Right now." "Wait." Olivia grabbed his arm. "We need to be smart about this. If you just barge in accusing her, she'll deny everything. Say the screenshots are fake, that I fabricated them. We need more than just digital images. What do you suggest?" "A second test, at a different lab, one she doesn't know about, one she can't touch." Olivia pulled up a laboratory website on her phone. "This place is in Guadalajara, 3 hours away. They have excellent reviews and no connection to Genetech or anyone in Mexico City. We go there, do the test, wait for results, then we confront her with proof she can't deny." Thomas was quiet for a long moment, staring at the phone. Finally, he nodded. "Okay, but I'm also contacting my lawyers. If what you're showing me is real, and God help me, I think it is, then Evelyn has committed fraud. Maybe worse, she needs to answer for it. One step at a time," Olivia said gently. "First, we prove I'm your daughter. Then we deal with Evelyn." They left for Guadalajara that afternoon, Thomas driving his car in tense silence, while Olivia sat in the passenger seat watching the city give way to highway, then countryside. The landscape rolled past, mountains in the distance, fields stretching toward the horizon, small towns with their colorful buildings and church steeples. "Tell me about Helen," Thomas said suddenly, breaking the silence. "You said she loved you." Olivia smiled despite everything. "She did. She worked double shifts to keep us fed. Always made sure I had school supplies even when we couldn't afford much else. She taught me to cook, to budget, to fight for what I wanted. She wasn't perfect. Obviously, she made a terrible choice taking me, but she was a good mother. Do you hate her for it? For stealing you from your real family?" "I did at first, when I read her note. I was furious, felt betrayed." Olivia watched the fields pass by. But then I thought about who I'd be if she hadn't taken me. Probably lost in the system, bouncing between foster homes. She gave me stability, love, a chance at a normal life. It was built on a lie, but the love was real. I wish I could thank her, Thomas said quietly, for keeping you safe when I couldn't. They reached the laboratory as the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the parking lot. The process was the same. Cheek swabs, paperwork, payment. But this time, Thomas requested additional security measures, video documentation of the sample collection, sealed containers with tamper-evident tape, a guarantee that the samples would be handled by only one technician whose identity would be verified. Paranoid much? The lab administrator joked. You have no idea, Thomas replied grimly. The results would take 2 weeks. 2 more weeks of uncertainty, of waiting, of wondering. As they drove back to Mexico City under a sky full of stars, Olivia felt the weight of those weeks pressing down on her. Where are you staying? Thomas asked as they entered the city limits. My apartment. Same place I've been since I moved to the city. That's not safe.